Hello and welcome back to the Gadget Show podcast. Yay! Yes, after a break for a couple of months where I've been busy shooting a movie. That sounds so cool, doesn't it? And Suzi's been globe-trotting with bikes. We're back for a very special episode.
That's right. Well, we just couldn't stay away, could we? Especially with all the massive news that's flying around at the moment. So without further ado, we're going to let you know everything that you need to know about the Nintendo Switch 2 launch, the brand new Xbox Handheld, and of course, all the biggest announcements from Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference.
It's a bumper episode, so let's get stuck in.
Right, I've heard there's been some pretty mahoosive movements in the gaming world since our last episode, so would you care to elaborate?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been desperate to talk about this, to be absolutely honest, because the future of gaming just relatively unexpectedly landed in our laps. First up, as most of you will know, after years of rumours, many of which we've covered on this here podcast, and wish list leaks, the Nintendo Switch 2 is officially here. In fact, it's officially here. Yeah, I thought I'd bring... Well, I'd love to pretend it's mine, but it's not actually. It's my daughter's machine. She was absolutely psyched about this and was first in the queue. Sort of 8:30 in the morning, off into Truro, our local city. It's not a city, it's a small town in Cornwall. And lining up, she got this, and then she was playing it for God knows how many hours. And we've had this taken over our front room, Suzi, for the last week or so. And it's absolutely brilliant. I love it. It dropped on June the 5th. It's an absolute beast compared to the original. We're talking a 7.9-inch 1080p display, buttery smooth by Switch levels, 120 frames per second, 3D audio, and 256 gigs of storage built in. That's the sort of basic specs for it. And of course, as you know, you can dock it where you'll get 4K out of it, which is rather cool. And some great games. I think that the headline game, obviously, Mario Kart, which is interesting. I mean, some people have criticised the lack of titles at launch. I don't know. I mean, I think Mario Kart, for example, is such a singular release. It's so exceptional. It's an amazing experience with loads of gameplay modes that previous iterations of that mammoth IP didn't have. And there's a Zelda update. There's also some other cool hardware bits. Have you heard about the USB-C camera thing, which is quite cool? So that when you play Mario Kart, for example, you can see the face or the video of the face of someone that you're playing in multiplayer mode, which is quite funny. There's talk of sort of AR, augmented reality gaming modes as a result of that, and game chat and game share. So there's a big sort of party element to it, which, as you know, because Suzi, we have launched almost every major Nintendo console, haven't we?
Back
together?
In the day, yeah, we have, really.
So it's still got that same sort of party vibe going on. But shiny new Zelda update is really good. I was playing it last night, or watching my daughter play it last night in the lounge. It's absolutely beautiful. But for me, I think Mario Kart's the standout headline title. But for me, Cyberpunk 2077, the Ultimate Edition, is the title that's blown me away the most. And I know our producer, Tom, also picked up a copy of Cyberpunk for his Switch 2 and was waxing lyrical about it. You know that I'm a huge Cyberpunk fan. I've been with them from day one, through all the glitches right through to possibly one of the best gaming offerings there's ever been. And the bespoke version they've done for the Switch 2 is absolutely exceptional. I would turn it on and stuff, but I think I'd rather just talk about it. I'll get distracted by it.
So there's been a lot of talk about it. Even Richard Osman was talking about it on his podcast, which made me...
Well, if he's talking about it, it must be good. I've just turned it on.
So, because obviously he's talking about different platforms and television and content and everything. So how well do you think it's doing?
Well, it is the most successful console launch in Nintendo's history.
Pretty well, then.
So I don't think it gets much better than that. When you consider that we're talking about the likes of the Wii, which was a global sensation. Let's not forget that. The Wii changed what a console was.
Yeah.
And it made consoles a truly family-centered entertainment platform in a way that they weren't before. Remember that previously.
Well, it brought in the physicality, didn't it?
it did. Like mom and dad, grandparents were playing the Wii, right? So and the previous Switch has been incredibly successful, very affordable, hugely popular. There's a real kind of cult around this hardware. So in that sense, for it to come in and be and sell so well so quickly, it's incredible. That statistic I'm doing from memory, by the way, it might be the most successful one on launch day or something like that, but it has broken records. It is across the board financially hugely successful. A lot of talk about the price of the games, though. A lot of pushback around that, which I think we're also going to possibly feel when GTA 6 comes out next year.
So what about the Joy-Cons then? I've heard that you can use them as a mouse. How does that work? How does that integrate?
Okay, so I don't know. I've not actually used it. Because this isn't my device, it's my daughter's, and she guards it.
It's like a dad.
But I understand that there's a tech demo, isn't there? It's kind of a game, but it's a tech demo. In fact, a lot of people are annoyed that you have to pay for it. And I believe you can use the mouse functionality of the Joy-Con with that tech demo. I'll give it a try, and maybe in another episode of this here podcast, we could touch on it. But I love the idea. Obviously, as a PC gamer, I'm very familiar with using a mouse as a gaming input device, and I reckon it's really interesting. For me, it's one of those quirky things that Nintendo do, and they'll probably release a title that will explain it, and it'll be a really fun, novel game. That's what I expect.
So maybe
something
for future games or something that they're going to bring in.
It's on the novelty. It's kind of on the novelty spectrum. You know, that part of Nintendo's offering.
Okay, and just before we move on to Xbox, then what about retro games?
I'm so glad you asked. Did you see that on here? I've got them on there.
Well, I just knew you'd want to talk about retro games because you always do.
Oh, absolutely! Look at that. I mean, so for a very small amount of money, as part of the kind of unlocking the multiplayer and so on, you get access to a whole bevy of vintage retro gaming titles, including the Mega Drive, which is bonkers. Sort of limited gaming library for each platform. The NES there you can see, N64. There's a Super Nintendo one. There's the GameCube that they've talked a lot about. You know, sort of games like F-Zero and GoldenEye. Some really cool titles that you can play, and I've obviously sat on the sofa and had a bomb through those. You can also buy these controllers that you can see on screen right now. For those of you watching, I'm holding up the Switch 2, and there's a bunch of controllers. If I hold it in front of my face, the camera should focus. And they're not just icons. You can actually buy these retro gaming controllers, like the singular N64 controller, which, if you remember, was very unusual, a real kind of chalk and cheese. You either love it or you hate it. I loved it. And they're Bluetooth or whatever they are, and they connect wirelessly to the Switch 2. And so you can have a proper, full, unmitigated retro gaming experience with the Switch 2, maybe even plugged into your TV, so it'll feel like you're on a retro console. I think it's absolutely brilliant. There's probably, again, I should have done my research, but there's probably 100 or so titles across the different platforms that you can play. It's remarkable value for money, and I think a really good tribute to Nintendo's heritage.
So overall then, Jace, the launch of the Switch 2, success?
Absolutely solid gold, I would say.
Okay, let's move on to Xbox Portable then now.
Right.
What have you got for us?
Absolutely extraordinary. Now, I would say it came out of the blue, but actually it didn't. I seem to remember in May there was an announcement, and I didn't. Sometimes I read these things and I don't know what's up with me because I don't really believe them. And what this announcement said was that that Microsoft had given up on the idea that they were going to produce their own gaming portable Xbox, and instead they were going to work with third-party providers. And I can remember the news item, including Asus or Asus, or however you say it, on a third-party piece of hardware. And so I was really disappointed. I can even remember where I was. I was in the car with all the kids, and we were going out to get something to eat on a Friday, and I was really disappointed. We had a conversation in it. I read it on my phone. I was really disappointed. What I read it as is they're not making a console, right?
Yeah. Well, you felt like they'd sort of given up in a way, but actually
4 weeks later.
The other way of looking at it is they're expanding, I suppose.
Well, okay, so what happened 4 weeks later is the announcement that Microsoft have officially partnered with Asus. And again, if I'm saying that wrong,
It's
then
right,
I'm saying it wrong.
Asus, yeah.
To release not one, but two officially Microsoft-sponsored Xbox-orientated consoles, portable consoles, called the Rogue Xbox Ally and the Rogue Xbox Ally X. Both coming, not next year, this year. Both going to be available for Christmas. So shall I give you the quick rundown? Then we
Yes, please.
do
But
some
obviously
questions.
Windows-based handheld. But yeah, give us the detail.
Yeah, it's Windows 11 based, but a special version of Windows 11. So it will load as an Xbox. When you start this thing up, you're not going to have, a start menu and you have to click on the Xbox logo or whatever. It's going to start up as an Xbox, right? And this is the next thing that's extraordinary about this. You're going to be able to play Game Pass titles on it from the cloud. You're going to be able to install your Xbox titles locally on the device on one of two flavors of hard drive, which we'll get to in a minute. But you're also, so you can stream and play localized installed titles, but you're also going to be able to put the likes of Steam Deck on it, apparently, and the Epic Games Launcher. So it's going to be a full spectrum mini PC in your hand, right? So I'll give you the quick spec. The top one, the Ally X. So it's got a Ryzen AMD chip on there, which has got some AI acceleration, but I'm not too bothered about that. 1 terabyte solid state hard drive and 24 gigs of DDR5 RAM. And the Ally, without the X on it, has a lighter spec, similar, smaller hard drive, and a 60 watt battery as opposed to the 80 watt battery of the quicker one. And apparently you can also, via the super quick USB-C, I think there's two of them on there, I might be wrong, you can connect to Asus's external RTX 5090 GPU dock. Now, that sounds like an expensive piece of hardware to me, but the idea is that you could kind of have a full
Desktop scenarios.
Yeah, exactly. And all of that coming this side of Christmas.
Yeah, and
Amazing.
I guess that's the idea, isn't it? Pre-Christmas, festive 2025 release. So basically, Nintendo's kind of come out of the gate early, but actually Xbox is right hot on their heels.
Oh, you're not kidding. I mean, I think this is absolutely game-changing for Xbox. It's huge. It's huge.
It's also it's quite a big swing, isn't it, for handheld gaming, really?
It is, because it's funny, isn't it? Handheld gaming can be a little bit like VR. It kind of promises to be this massive sector, but kind of isn't always. It depends on when you're dropping in, what sort of decade you're looking at. So you get the likes of the Game Boy, and obviously handheld gaming is a massive sector. But then once the buzz around that has finished after a few years, kind of what replaces it, and I think this is massive. I personally. Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say two really different approaches to gaming as well when you look at it.
Yeah, I think the fact that the Xbox offering is so kind of multi-platform in terms of how you can load games. So you can stream from the cloud. You can use it as an Xbox. You can use your Steam account, apparently, Epic, as I said, and I'm sure other services, because effectively it's just a PC. That's a big sell. But then the device itself is going to be, I think, considerably heavier than the Switch 2. And I would imagine it'll probably be quite a bit more expensive as well. No news on price yet. I mean, I'm happy to speculate. It's going to be something for the Ally X. It'll definitely be something north of 800 quid, I think. Maybe 799, but could be, I don't know. It could be more than that, just because of the hardware that's on board. So slightly different offering, and culturally, I think this is important. Culturally, very different. None of that kind of cutesy Nintendo stuff, which we've just been talking about, and that the quirky kind of gameplay things like with the mouse that you mentioned and all the rest of it. So more again of a hardcore device. But then you say that it's an Xbox, so is Xbox hardcore? Not really. Xbox is where the gaming experience is softened in terms of the interface and the offering. So it could be very commercially successful because it's got one foot in kind of the more general gaming experience, and those people like me, let's be honest, who are a bit more of a hardcore gamer and want to play those processor intensive sort of first person shooters and so on. So it could be really successful.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with those.
So exciting. So exciting.
I presume that they'll both be on your Christmas list.
I can't even put into words how excited I am about being able to have a portable Xbox. I do a lot of travelling, as you know, like you, Suzi, but not around the world. And the idea of being able to take my Xbox with me is, I mean, it's just insane. I'm so excited about it.
It would seem a little remiss to not mention PlayStation at this point with the other two giants. What do you think? Like, do you think that they are involved enough in this, or do you think they need to come up with something new?
I don't know what the economics are of it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know to what extent they need, because that's your question. You said, do they need to? I don't know whether they need to. I'd imagine they're going to monitor what happens with the rollout of this new portable Xbox. And possibly they'll get into that market if there is a market for it. I mean, you know, they've got obviously the Portal, which is more of a kind of remote device, isn't it? It's like a player.
Yeah.
Meaning that you know, it hasn't got any of the ability that this new device from Asus has got to play games remotely and cross-platform and all the rest of it. You know, you're just connecting to your actual PlayStation 5 and you're reliant on whatever the Wi-Fi is as to whether you get a good or bad experience. What I will say about the Portal is I've always thought it's an absolutely exquisite piece of industrial design. I mean, it's just beautiful. I brought it up on the screen, actually. It's gorgeous. And to think that you could have something that looks like that and is as portable as that lovely thin screen and those sort of horns of controllers on either side is very exciting. Yeah, maybe they'll just they'll monitor the market, I think, and they'll see what happens. But I don't think they need to get into that space yet. I mean, interestingly, you'll be able to play several PlayStation games on the Ali and AliX.
Yeah,
that's a weird thing through Steam. So I'm not sure how they'll feel about that. It does feel like Microsoft are very much that they're opening up their market, aren't they? They're opening up their catalog to multiple devices.
Yeah.
Part of Microsoft's strategy, isn't it? So very exciting to see where this all goes.
Interesting. Food for thought, though, isn't it?
Okay, so that's it for the world of gaming. Some amazing announcements and some really exciting stuff to look forward to. But what have you got for us, Suze?
Yeah, I'm not sure I can match that. But loads for Apple aficionados, really. So last week at WWDC 2025, they served up, as you would expect, a mountain of software gadgety goodness. Let's start with a new look. So Apple have just served up its biggest UI redesign, its user interface redesign since iOS 7. It's called Liquid Glass. So I'll just tell you a little bit about it, give you a bit of spec before you react, because I think I know what you're going to say. You can expect kind of sleek, translucent controls, dynamic icons, and a cohesive visual style rolling out across iOS 26, iPad OS 26, Mac OS Tahoe, Watch OS 26, Vision OS 26, TV OS 26, and even CarPlay. Go on, you can react.
Well, I'm excited about CarPlay because I use CarPlay as much. You know what I mean? If you think about it, a lot of us use CarPlay as much as we use our iPhones. I mean, it's blooming brilliant. And I do think that the CarPlay experience, once you've got over the novelty of it, after a year or so, you're like, oh, come on. Give me some more functions, some more apps and more stuff to do. And some of the announcements that they've made around where CarPlay is going is quite interesting. But effectively, if you kind of decode what was announced, they've got some new graphics. They literally they rolled out their people and they do that sort of really awkward, patronizing children's TV presenter delivery about how exciting and innovative this is with that weird arms and hands that they've been trained to do. And that's fine if you're showing me a brand new virtual reality helmet, right? I don't care about all that stuff. I'm just interested in this amazing hardware, right? But effectively, the big news was this liquid glass, which isn't liquid and isn't glass. It's just some new graphics, which you've had previously on kind of Android and stuff. And I mean, am I missing the point here?
No, it didn't go down particularly well. I think, it was an oversell, perhaps. It kind of could have been a subtext, couldn't it, really? But it was kind of rolled out as a gigantic
Tell us some more stuff then.
Well, on the
some stuff for the iPhone.
iPhone front. So iOS 26 introduces local on-device Apple Intelligence features like live call translation. Call screen. And the live call translation, I think, is really interesting.
Yeah, it would be for you because you're always, halfway around the world. So that'd be really useful, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and also, speaking to people in different languages and that kind of thing. And, anything that can help you in that respect and speed things up is a good thing in my book. So call screening, hold assist. So that's to mute. Like, everyone's going to love this. Don't lie. You're going to love this.
I'm going to love it.
So hold assist means that you mute hold music and you're alerted when the actual person picks up. So an actual person speaks. So you haven't got to listen to lift music for the rest of your life.
Genius.
It's always played too loud and slightly distorted, I think.
So sorry to jump in. The call screening thing, from what I remember from the presentation at WWDC, what they said was you get a spam call. Yeah. Except I don't even know that I've got a spam call. I'm chatting to you, doing the podcast. My phone's there. It gets the spam call. The AI suspects the spam call, answers it, interrogates in whatever way whether it's a spam call, and if it's not, then puts it through.
Yes, that's acting as a filter.
Is that what you got from it? Was that a fair summary of what they announced?
I think so. That's what I understood it to do.
That's cool.
Which
I
is
like
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think we can all say that we're all getting more spam calls now, aren't we? We get that girl, my name's so-and-so, please add me on WhatsApp, like block. So if something can just automatically do that for you, you kind of forget those calls are even going to come in.
Great.
So
I love it.
That's good. That's good.
I love it.
You've got message summarization and visual intelligence that lets you interact with, what's on your screen.
Which at the moment is kind of there on the iPhone 16 Pro that I've got with the A18 chip, doing all that sort of on-device AI. It does the message summarization, and it's pretty good, actually. Like, several times I've looked at a little pop-up without realizing, because when a pop-up comes, you don't it's sort of subconscious, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so if the summary has something in it that's relevant to me, then I'll attend to it. And I found myself doing that. It's quite a good function. So if they're going to improve on that, then that's all good.
I think it takes a bit of getting used to. That's the only thing that I would say. Maybe that's me and I'm slow to embrace change. I don't know, but I like to play the opposite of you sometimes. So yeah. What else have we got? iPad OS 26. That gets a little bit closer, if you like, to Mac OS 26. Yeah. So there's a top menu bar there. Mac style windowing and 4 brand new apps, journal, games, preview, and the native phone app.
Yeah. So it's more like a laptop experience now, isn't it? That's what they're pushing.
Well, as you mentioned, the Mac, over on the Mac OS Tahoe preserves the liquid glass overhaul and drops support for older Intel Macs. And it's the last Mac OS version to do so. And Spotlight now has deeper contextual awareness and desktop live activities.
Right, so people that have got a MacBook will know all about that stuff. Yeah, there's some nice welcome updates.
And I mean, it's interesting. It's not like ground, but I don't think it's smashing anything here. But they're little nice things, aren't they?
They are, and as you list it, it is making me. Yeah, actually, you're doing a better job.
Am I selling it in a nicer way?
You're doing a better job than the cardboard avatar humans that they used in that god awful hour, 2 hours, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So carry on. You're doing a good job. They should employ you.
Do you want to know about the Apple Watch? Maybe?
Yes, I do, because I've got an Apple Watch, yeah.
Okay, well, that's getting a workout buddy. So that's basically offering real-time AI-powered fitness guidance. So you've got your AI coming in there. I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but I presume it's sort of a motivational, information-giving kind of project that they're rolling out there.
When I start lifting, because I go to the gym a lot, and when I'm there and I start, my watch...
If you've been working out...
my watch senses that I'm doing weights or whatever. Yeah. And so it says, are you doing a workout or something like that? And I go, yeah. But then it doesn't really offer me anything that I can even remember. I don't even know what it does. I don't even go back and look at it. Or maybe I should. So I do think there's space in that market. And so are you saying it's going to, what's it going to do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that it's going to kind of analyse all the data that it's got on you and during your workout, and it's going to give you a summary of that and maybe some tips on how to improve or do more of something or less of something. I'm not quite sure, to be honest. I need to do a deeper dive into that.
What it would say to me is you're not doing enough cardio, or you've not done enough legs, or you haven't done any legs. Because I'm so vain. I'm like, why bother with legs?
I don't want.
No one looks at your legs in a tight t-shirt, do they? Sorry, Suzi, carry on.
Well, but then I would rather people look at my legs than my tight t-shirt, to be fair.
There you go. So with you, it'd say you're not doing enough, arms.
Yeah, upper body.
But no, seriously, it would say you're not doing enough cardio, or your workout was longer today. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, what can it actually tell you? This is what I'm interested in.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I haven't tried it. I don't know if I would find it patronising. I might do, because I don't really generally like being told what to do. As I mean, I don't.
Patronised by your watch.
Patronised
only in 2025.
Shut up, watch.
Yeah.
Anyway, shall I move on? Vision Pro, because I know you'll be interested in this. So, Vision OS 26 brings spatial widgets. So,
right, yes.
Virtual objects pinned to your real world, and
Great.
much improved personas, avatars, with more realistic hair, skin, and customization. I know.
They made so much out of this, and they had another, expert person jumping up, like some Apple, executive getting all super excited, and I was just like, oh God. And I think that Apple really got this part of this presentation wrong. It was really stiff. It was like your parents talking to you. It was really odd. And but to be fair, you have opened my eyes a little bit to some of the nuance in this presentation. You mentioned personas. I mean, I should be waving a flag for this new sort of avatar technology, because, as you know, I'm such a fan of VR, and I love the idea of holograms and stuff. And it's like a hologram, isn't it? It's a bit Star Wars, really, the old persona avatars things that they were pushing.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit Princess Leia, which iconic moment.
Help me, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope.
Exactly. Also, I think it's worth mentioning that they've aligned OS version numbers with calendar years.
Yeah.
So it's not just the next generation kind of coming through. So it'll be iOS 26 with 2026, for example, Mac OS, Tahoe 26, Watch OS 26, etc., etc. A slight dampener. Series AI overhaul is delayed. Shock news.
Unbelievable. Slight dampener.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
What, the Apple Intelligence that they sold to the world, that I actually was employed by a well-known British UK mobile phone company to launch and talk in great detail on radios all across the UK about the brand new Apple Intelligence, and that you and I discussed, based on their promises on this podcast, was coming, and it has not materialized. It's almost, I think, criminal what they've done. They sold hardware based on an AI experience that hasn't transpired. But over to you. Give me the stats.
Well, the reaction wasn't great, as you can well imagine. It's a promise that hasn't been delivered. Investors were underwhelmed. Shares dropped, actually, after the keynote by about 1 to 2.5%, which is not good news for Apple.
Don't get me wrong, I don't want to contradict myself, right? There are features from Apple Intelligence that are useful. I mentioned one earlier, didn't I? The summary of emails, for example, I find quite useful. I don't care about emojis. I don't care about some of the other functions that they are pushing. What I think we were sold and what we expected was a full suite of AI-powered, sort of game-changing services based on the fact that the phones had the much vaunted A18 chips in them, certainly the Pro models, and that's why I invested the best part of £1,000, if not more than that, in my iPhone 16 Pro, right? And none of that offering has transpired, and they haven't even delivered at WWDC 25. I think it's really bad. What's your view on it?
I'm surprised. I wasn't. I found I kind of bought into the new idea when they launched iPhone 16, saying that AI is coming. I thought, okay, well, they're going to launch the phone because they want to launch the phone, and this is a new directive. This is a new way for Apple to launch things when they've got them, rather than doing it all together. So I did buy into that, but I did expect now that it would be rolled out. So yeah, the delay is much, much bigger than, and I can understand people being disgruntled about this, having invested heavily in a new phone and not having what was promised. Really,
Yeah.
It's now turning into quite a long delay, isn't it?
They've missed the boat, and it's going to be interesting to see if they even catch up at all, Susie, because the likes of OpenAI are off and running. Gemini's, smashing it.
And heavily advertised as well, aren't they? They really are.
Look at
the
the Android
competition is
advert,
absolutely massive. Yeah.
And then look at XAI's investment in massive data centers. They're doing another massive data center. So to the consumer, it's Grok, but really, what they're doing is cars and robots. I mean, the rest of the industry are moving, and the Chinese as well, with Manus and DeepSeek, they're all moving so quickly, so exponentially forward. Apple are going to have to spend a lot of money and quickly if they need to deliver on the AI promise, that I think they're going to have to. Otherwise, they're going to, for the first time in my memory, they're going to look outdated.
Right, so in summary, liquid glass visuals, on-device Apple Intelligence, iPad gets Mac-like chops.
Yeah.
Mac OS Tahoe is the last Intel-supported OS. Watch gets a smart fitness coach. We don't know quite what he's going to advise. Vision Pro gets widgets and better avatars, more lifelike. And Energy Kit powers smarter home tech. It's all arriving later on this year, with betas rolling out through summer and full releases timed with the iPhone 17 launch.
Wow. Fascinating. Great summary, Susie. You did a much better job than those Apple peeps did selling it to me. Okay, so there was another big announcement, as you know, a week or so, a couple of weeks before, at Google's I.O. in the form of Veo 3, the latest AI-powered video generation model from Google and their DeepMind project. So it was mid-May that it was released. And we're not talking about, another silent animation or video creation tool. Veo 3 now produces fully synchronized audio, including dialogue, ambient effects, music, lip sync, integrated seamlessly into cinematic clips, albeit cinematic clips that only last 8 seconds. It can take text or image prompts, maintain character consistency across different scenes, each being 8 seconds long, and generate output in 1080p or 4K, depending on how much your monthly commitment is. So on the creative side, Google introduced this sort of umbrella package called Flow, right? So Flow as a whole, a sort of subset, with a subset of different platforms, is best described, I think, Susie, as a sort of AI filmmaking suite, aimed at the kind of prosumer, I would
really,
say.
Isn't it?
It is a bit. Bringing together Veo that I've just mentioned, Imagen and Gemini, with tools like Scene Builder, camera controls, and various ways of managing your assets so you can bring them all together in something meaningful in video form. So again, just to be clear, in case all of that sounds a bit wordy, I've got a basic account on Flow, all right? I can't remember how much it cost me. I think it's about £18.99, so it's the basic level, so I can only do 1080p, and I've got a watermark burnt into anything I do. But I was playing around with this. You'll find this interesting. You mentioned at the start, or maybe I mentioned it, that I've been making a movie, and we've done a scene in our film which is set inside a funeral home, Suze, right? But in order to get stuff done, what we didn't shoot was the exterior of a generic funeral home in that way that you transition between the previous moments. Scene set, and then blah, blah, blah. So I thought, I know what I'll do. So I wrote a prompt into Veo 3. Now, I don't remember what the prompt was, but it was something like locked off tripod shot from across the road, revealing a funeral home on a UK high street, and then importantly I put in style similar to Ken Loach documentary, something like that. I wanted that kind of slightly sort of visually dour kind of browns and greys. I wish I could show you the result. In fact, maybe we can. Maybe I could send the video to our producer, and while I'm saying this, it'll magically pop up on the screen. So I don't know. Maybe that's happening.
It's already happened.
But the result is incredible.
Really?
It's absolutely amazing. And it almost made me want to spend the $249.99 a month, which is what you need for the AI Ultra version of this whole experience, so that I could output it in 4K. What I got was an 8-second sort of 720p or 1080p clip.
Yeah.
But the result was amazing.
Which,
Absolutely
obviously
amazing.
that saved you a lot of money. Saved you more than $249 or whatever it is.
Well, Susie, I'd have to get in a car at the very least, get in, drive somewhere, first of all, find the location. I don't know whether it exists. I'd have to mess around because I probably couldn't use the actual logo of the actual real world business without giving them some money. So yeah, it saved me a lot.
But that's you making a movie, just to play devil's advocate. Obviously, very useful for that. But I mean, this is for creators that are going out and shooting lots of things, and sometimes it's raining and you wanted to have a dry shot and you're on a deadline.
Great point.
So actually, this is brilliant. This could be so useful for so many people. I mean, I think it sounds amazing.
It's cool. I mean, the other thing that I've done, actually, we weren't going to talk about this. I'm just going to pitch this at you, right? For fun, right? Because I do a lot of talks to companies about AI. I went onto this platform called HeyGen, and I created, and with something called 11 Labs. So I used something called 11 Labs to make I think we've done this on the previous version of the podcast, actually. And I don't think the results were that great. But I've made an avatar of myself, and I get it to introduce me on stage, right?
Yeah.
Just because it's a bit of fun. Write a funny script or get ChatGPT to help me write a funny script so that as much of it as possible is all done by AI. That's the point, right? And so warts and all, it's a bit clunky, but actually the results are amazing. And I now have it all set up, and I can just enter text and it will come up. Again, actually, if our producer wants to, you could pop a little clip in here. Hey chat, Jason here. Welcome to another exciting episode of Way of the Exploding Show. In this week's exciting episode, we're looking at the new Nintendo Switch 2 in all its new retro goodness. Checking out a brand new game that channels everything that was rad about the Desert Strike game series. And of course, in about half an hour, it will be time for the best quiz on the interweb. And the voice part of it, which is from a service by a company called 11 Labs. There are other services that offer this, but I've used 11 Labs. The voice is amazing, Susie. I reckon I could probably call you up now and you wouldn't know it wasn't me. I mean, it's amazing. The visual side of it is good, but it's a little bit glitchy. And also, for some reason, the ingested video material that I use to train the avatar version of myself doesn't smile. It just doesn't. It never smiles, which is not like me at all. But my point being, we are getting into the kind of realm now of deep fakes. I don't know if that concerns you. I think it should concern everyone.
It does. I mean, and we've done it on the podcast, haven't we? Where we've done a deep fake of me selling something that was a load of nonsense, and it wasn't me.
No, but it's getting. What I'm saying is, even since we did that, which was probably what was that, a year ago? Maybe
6 months. A year ago. It's moved on so much since then.
Yeah, and VEO 3. Is part of that extraordinary, innovation. I think it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, always good and bad when you look at these things, but that does sound incredible. It's just the deep fake concern, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Sort of generating such realistic and political, sensitive, explosive content that can have massive impact.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
That is the issue. And you've probably seen on social media that they've been using VEO 3 to generate news reports with bogus, avatar people, at the scene of calamities and so on.
And things that haven't happened.
Yeah, at the moment it's done in good fun, and they say things like they'll say something like, "I'm here at the scene of an escape from the zoo," and then it'll pause and go, "Not really. I'm a fake. I'm an AI fake or something." And there's a whole ream of these now on social media. But you're right, though, in the wrong hands and with the wrong intentions, it's pretty scary stuff.
We're seeing it anyway, aren't we? We're seeing it politically all the time about things that are going on that aren't going on, and you don't. It's really hard to know what to believe in this world of disinformation, and that's the downside of it.
I mean, are you and I even here right now, or is this an avatar of myself?
I'm going to say, if they were avatars, they would have been a lot better than we were today. You make a good point there about us being real, because actually, joking apart, the software that we use for this, Riverside Studio, it does have AI. So if you and I missed a few lines, or our producer wanted us to say something, he could actually do it without calling us up and saying, can we just re-record this? You don't have to do that anymore, because our voice is within the software. So he can just...
I mean, from a practical point of view, that's actually really useful, isn't it?
It's useful to the point where they suddenly say, we don't need you now.
We don't need you. Which is definitely, we're virtually there. And the other phrase that I'm fond of is, this is the worst it's going to be, meaning that we're already at the stage where I could make a believable, I could definitely do a believable voiceover, that's no question, just by entering text. The video still has a bit of a ways to go, but that's the worst it's going to be. It's going to get better and better and better. So yes, we are at the cusp of, major entertainment phenomena like animated series and movies being made completely in the box with no actual live humans involved in filming. And
no,
we're so close to that.
Yeah, no.
I wouldn't worry too much, though, because inevitably, as you know, being a child of the 70s, when, everything started to be automated, there's always a rollback where the human in the chain, the value of that person becomes so much more obvious than it ever was. So I don't think it's quite the calamity that I might be suggesting it is.
I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? I am a child of the 70s, as you are. And I more and more just think, well, do you know what? I'm so lucky to have grown up in the environment that we grew up in, and just be happy with that and be quiet. Just get on your bike and go out and go knock up your friends and go off for the day.
Knock up your friends? I don't think we should be suggesting that, Suzi.
You know what I mean? What did you used to call it then when you used to go and call for your friends?
I used to, that probably.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we used to say, isn't it? Come and knock on me. Come and call on me. Come and knock me up. Come and knock me up.
The boys in the neighbourhood in Wolverhampton used to love Suzi because she was always asking to be knocked up.
But you know what? I was such a boy when I was younger. Nobody looked at me like that. So there we go. Anyway, it seems like a really good time to end the podcast, doesn't it? It was a special today.
Well, what can we say? That's it for this special edition of the Gadget Show podcast. Thank you very much for joining us.
Well, it's been great to be back together again to talk to you. We're hoping to be back and up and running in the coming weeks with a full new series. So keep your eyes and ears on our socials and the Patreon page, because that's where everything will land first, of course.
And as always, thanks for listening and watching.
See you soon.
Bye.
The Gadget Show podcast with Jason and Suzi was presented by Jason Bradbury and Suzi Perry off the telly. It was produced by Ewan Keel and Tom Clint and is a North One production.